Welcome to the year 1992. Let's see what happened in Spider-Man comics. Okay, previously on The Amazing Spider-Man, the Secret Empire kidnapped Nova. Spider-Man, Night Thrasher, Moon Knight, and Punisher all try to get him back. Now, the continuation and conclusion of this story is they fight the cyborgified ex-sidekick of Moon Knight named Midnight, and eventually Alright, and in Web of Spider-Man, there was a story arc called Name of the Rose. Richard Fisk is working with a new rose to bring down the Kingpin, but Richard becomes more and more different, and eventually the Kingpin is taken out by other means not seen in Spider-Man, and Richard becomes the new Kingpin. He even becomes fatter and looks like him and shaves his head and all that good stuff just to probably make him look exactly like the Kingpin before, just, so that there's still a Kingpin. But yeah, the Rose turns out to be a police officer, and then Richard shoots him, and but then another person, unbeknownst to the audience, takes the mask and puts it on. So there's a new rose called Blood Rose. Also in Web of Spider-Man, in this story arc as well, it's revealed that the Hobgoblin actually has a demon half that comes out every so often. And after an encounter with Spider-Man, the demon half manages to tear itself off of the human side and is dubbed Demogoblin by Spider-Man. Demogoblin can materialize flaming pumpkin bombs, and he rides on a glider made entirely of flames that looks like a dragon. It's pretty awesome, I'm going to say. The Vulture, and in Spectacular Spider-Man, the Vulture has cancer and wants to settle old debts. He kills a bunch of people who wronged him and asks Aunt May's forgiveness for killing her fiancé Nathan. He eventually fights Spidey and then is sent to jail. Also, Harry puts the Green Goblin suit back on and harasses Peter with creepy messages, and then eventually is confronted by Spider-Man, who sends him to jail. Harry also has now taken the super strength formula that his father created, so he's got super strength, and it's getting stronger. So, there's that. In Amazing Spider-Man, Cletus Cassidy, aka Eddie Brock's old cellmate, escapes from prison with the help of a new friend. It's the offspring of the symbiote that bonded with Brock to become Venom. Cletus is a serial killer and kills a random guy because he thinks his name's stupid, and Cletus with his symbiote is red and terrifying. And he dubs himself Carnage. It is the first appearance of said villain. Carnage begins going around the city committing brutal murders. Spider-Man seeks the help of Venom to defeat him, and they eventually beat Carnage by blasting the same frequency that hurts Venom. And, at one point, Carnage throws a baby out the window to distract Venom and Spider-Man. So, yeah. And he was also ripping people's spines out, just for fun. So, yeah, he's a pretty formidable villain. Also, a big thing that happened, some people claiming to be Peter's parents come back and say they didn't die in the plane crash that, Peter thinks killed his parents, and have been in Russian prison camps for 20 years. Peter has a hard time believing them and accepting them, and he investigates the matter to try and figure out whether they're telling the truth or what's going on. So anyway, in regular old Spider-Man, the Sinister Six reform to get revenge against Doc Ock, but they end up teaming up with him to steal weapons from another dimension. Spider-Man has a tough time beating them, and it turns into an epic battle of Doc Ock, the Vulture, Hobgoblin, Mysterio, and Electro versus Spider-Man, the Hulk, Ghost Rider, Fantastic Four, Nova, Solo, Deathlock, and Sandman. And yeah, if you are imagining some big crazy battle, that's exactly what it was. It was pretty crazy and awesome. So yeah, also another thing in regular old Spider-Man, the Demo Goblin controls a doppelganger of Spider-Man from some other, I don't know, mini-series thing. And it's Spider-Man, but he has 6 arms, and he's completely mindless and just, pretty much a drone. And Demo Goblin can control him and tell him where to go and what to do. And Demo Goblin is on a mission to kill all sinners in the world, which pretty much is everybody in his eyes. So he just likes to kill people. Okay. Also, in Spectacular Spider-Man, Dr. Kafka is making great progress in trying to destroy the vermin personality within Edward Whelan. Story arc ends next year, so we'll see what happens with that, but it kind of takes a twist and Edward reverts back to vermin and everything, so we'll see. And in Web of Spider-Man, Betty finally finds out that Ned was the Hobgoblin, and she takes it pretty well. She's also trained in hand-to-hand combat now, and is good with guns, and yeah, she's pretty much like a Sarah Connor type thing. It's pretty cool. And the annuals showed the first few hours of when Eddie Brock became Venom, and he avenges a friend's death and decides to bond with the symbiote. And he hates when innocence is corrupted or when people kill innocence or something like that. So that's why, he kind of has morals, but at the same time, he just, he also doesn't have, he kills people, so whatever. And in regular old Spider-Man, the most talked about story all year, or so they claim, or they claim it's going to be the most talked about story. And it's about some guy is selling a gun to a kid, and Spidey stops him, and another kid picks up the gun and plans on using it against bullies, and Spider-Man convinces him not to. So, another anti-gun PSA, but, whatever. I don't know. I doubt it was the most talked about story all year because Carnage and Peter Burns and Demo Goblin. Anyway, speaking of Demo Goblin, in Web of Spider-Man, Demo Goblin is being taken to the vault, and when the truck gets stopped and the driver's killed by Troll and Hag, which are some Ghost Rider enemies, Demo Goblin escapes, and so does Venom. And Spider-Man and Hobgoblin run into Demo Goblin and the Doppelganger, and Ghost Rider and Johnny Blaze are looking for Troll and Hag. Venom is following them because he wants to kill Troll and Hag for killing the innocent truck drivers. And they all run into each other, and it leads to this big crazy fight into a sewer, and then it's to be continued. So we'll see. And at the end of Amazing Spider-Man, there was Alistair Smythe, now in a futuristic-looking wheelchair, breaks some dangerous people out of a mental hospital and creates a bunch of sophisticated spider slayers to kill Spider-Man. Spider-Man defeats a good chunk of them, and an FBI agent kidnaps Peter's parents, but he doesn't know that yet. And Felicia Hardy has also asked Tinkerer to make her some things to give her the ability to become the Black Cat again. Such as balance and agility enhancing implants, like in the ears and stuff, and gloves that can sharpen into claws, and contacts that help her see in the dark, and she helps Spider-Man in his search for Alistair. So yeah, that was the main ones, and the new series this year, Spider-Man 2099. I'm just going to preface this with, I really love it. I just really do. It's well written, clever, and it's interesting. And the main character is not Peter Parker, and he's definitely not Peter Parker. He's just a different character altogether, but it still works with Spider-Man. So, yeah. Anyway, it's about a young scientist named Miguel O'Hara who works at a company called Alchemax and is doing genetic experiments on animals. He decides to quit because they are rushing him and they force him to test on a human who dies. The boss spikes his farewell wine with a drug called Rapture that is legal and highly addictive because it bonds with your DNA and whatever. And it's only produced at Alchemax legally. And Miguel tries to re-implant his DNA from before he took the drug so that he's not dependent on it, but a disgruntled assistant comes in and messes with the equipment while he's in the machine, and he creates a 50-50 mix between Miguel and a spider. Miguel comes out and he now has talons on his fingers and toes, fangs, and highly advanced eyes. And he also has web spinners in his wrists. And the disgruntled assistant is horrified and dies after falling off the building. So after Alchemax sees all the destruction in the lab, and they send an elite cyborg tracker/killer named Venture after the trail. And Miguel sees him outside the building and puts on a costume he got from Day of the Dead festival in Mexico. And it's made out of unstable molecules fabric because he doesn't want to rip it up with his whatever. So anyway, he jumps out the window, and that's the end of the issue. So we'll see what happens next year with Spider-Man 2099. But yeah, overall, pretty great year. A lot of crazy things happened. All with, Demogoblin, Peter's parents coming back, and Carnage. I mean, Carnage is a pretty awesome villain. There's a lot of good stuff. I mean, there was some, stories that were lacking this year, which I didn't even bother to mention here. But overall it was really great, even with the downs. So we'll see what happens next year. It should be pretty awesome. I will see you in 1993.